Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk. I'm Amanda Solar, and each week we share the kinds of stories that remind us we're not alone. It's about being human, raw and unfiltered, just real talk. Let's connect.
Connection. Let's talk about connection. Let's talk about connection.
So I'm joined by Alex Fabio today, and I connected with Alex because I was a guest on the Core Energy podcast where I think Alex is an associate producer.
I'm a producer and associate director. Yeah.
That's it.
That's the
And
that's the full title.
that's the full title. Well, as soon as I met you, I thought, wow, he has such an energy and a presence. And I really did think, okay, I want them both on a future podcast. So I'm really happy that you're joining me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that we were able to connect through Kurt. Shout out Kurt Bruckman for connecting us. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So can I start off just because that was our initial connection? How did you become connected with Core Energy podcast?
Sure. So, kind of a crazy story. So, I was I quit my job. I was working kind of a sales job last fall. I quit my job. I really hated the lifestyle. I thought like I had just proposed to my now wife, and I was like, I don't want to go down this, rabbit hole of like this lifestyle. I don't want to be like that angry asshole husband who comes home and like doesn't want to talk to my wife. Like she's my best friend, and I felt like I started being ingenuine and just not my best self to everyone around me that I loved. And it was just very stressful for me. It was just very not me. It just wasn't jiving with who I really am. And so I quit and I had no plan, which was kind of like crazy in retrospect, but I think I needed to do that. I don't know. I work better under pressure, I suppose. So I started kind of putting out a ton of applications to places. And in the meantime, I was giving guitar lessons privately because I'm a musician and I've played in bands for my whole life. And I thought, whatever, let me give it a shot. And I actually went to my bandmate. He's also my best friend, Freddie. He goes under the stage name Rainville, so shout out him. Um, someone in his family had passed away, and I went to the wake, unfortunate circumstances. But while I was standing there, his mother actually introduced me to Kurt, and she was like, "Hey, this is a friend of mine, whatever." And then she had a million people to talk to. It was kind of a big deal in their family. So Kurt and I just kind of awkwardly standing there, both came alone, started talking, and I told him, "Yeah, I play music with Freddie," and he was like, "Oh, cool! I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar," and I was like, light bulb, I could teach you how to play guitar. Um, and so we started organizing lessons. We were doing weekly guitar lessons, like starting from scratch. Like, this is what a guitar is,
Oh my gosh.
this is the neck, the body. It's cool because once you start teaching something, and I'm sure you can relate to this, like you start pulling from these things that other teachers taught you, and they like pass through you in this weird way. And I learned that too in my work now as a producer. But going back to the story, basically, as we were getting to know each other, he told me about his work as a core energy dynamics master and as a coach. He told me about his time at IPEC, and just all this like leadership that he's basically teaching businesses and individuals. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And I love like all kinds of, I don't know, self-help, motivational stuff. Like I eat that kind of content up because it gets me going in the morning. It gets me going. Like I'm a huge podcast listener. I'm a huge reader. I like need that stuff to just keep reminding me like, yeah, like go kick ass. And so I was interested, and he started telling me that he wanted to start a podcast. And I had a brief stint of doing a podcast with my own band for a minute where I basically coordinated the whole thing. We only did 6 episodes, but I learned basically how to do it, how to record it, how to film it, how to distribute it. And yeah, I was like, I could help you with that too if you want. And we basically had like 4 months of like just trial and error kind of pre-production. We didn't know what we wanted it to look like or sound like or feel like or what the kind of structure would be. So it took a little bit to get that underway, but eventually we figured it out and we titled it Core Energy Experience. And we are now, I think we have episode 16 coming out this week. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I've been able to meet people like you.
So I mean, I know it's relatively new, but what do you like about it? Like, what lights you up about doing it?
Yeah, for me, I'm on the production end more so. I haven't hosted an episode, although we have talked about that because we're planning to bring in, this is probably a little sneak peek, but we're planning to bring in some people kind of from my spheres, from the artists and musician sphere. So we're planning to bring in some artists, musicians, and stuff kind of from my world, from my scene. And so in order to kind of bridge that gap with Kurt, we're talking about having me come into like the front of the camera and Kurt and I co-host so that I can talk to my peers and friends, and he can kind of bring the core to what their journeys have entailed and stuff like that, which I think will be a pretty cool angle for the show. But yeah, I love the production side of things because I was a performer for basically my whole life from, I don't know, I started playing in bands when I was 12 and just
Wow.
playing shows, and I didn't stop until just last year. I played my last show for quite a while. I haven't played since, and I'm kind of challenging myself to see how long I can go without playing a show. So it's been like a year and a half now. And so it's cool being behind the scenes, and I work as a producer at a studio. And so again, it's like me now taking a step back and letting someone else be the face is like a really cool way to experience art, I guess.
Yeah, and it probably pulls upon different aspects of yourself, which is always an interesting growth experience. Um, so Alex, what made you stop? Why are you stopping? You know how you said you're going to see how long you can go. What
Yeah.
is that about?
Well, so I mean, like I said, I've played in bands since I was 12 years old, and it was really my only dream was just like to play in a rock band and kind of do that. Um, it kind of I guess I'll take you back to the start. I basically around that time, it's like a couple different things happened in my life that kind of like woke me up to like my path, I guess. So when I was 12, my grandma passed away. And that was like the first major loss I had, you know, as a kid. And like, it's actually kind of an interesting story because at the same time, I was kind of finding out that I don't know, I didn't really fit in at school. There was like, it's funny when you talk about like, you know, middle school drama, but it really impacts you as a kid.
Forever.
And yeah, forever. Clearly, you know, we're still talking about it now. And, you know, what happened to me that day was I actually asked the girl on a date, right? I was like, you know, seventh grade or whatever. Asked the girl on a date on the playground and she laughed at me. And then all of her friends like laughed and it felt like the whole
Oh,
world was just like
yeah.
laughing at me, right?
Yeah.
And it was devastating. And so then the rest of the day, I was just trying to make it through the day, right? Head down. I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And I get home and I had the worst day ever. And I walk in and I found out my grandma had died. And
Whoa.
so it was like a big double whammy. And like it felt like, and then I was out of school the next couple days. People thought it was because of the embarrassing thing that happened on the playground or whatever, but it was really
Right.
because of my grandmother passing and the family getting together and things like that. Um, so it was a really tough time because when I came back the next week, that was on like a Thursday. So then when I came back the next week, it felt like I was just miles away from who I was the previous week. And I didn't
Mhm.
really know, you know, I didn't know who I was anymore, you know,
Yeah.
and um, I was introduced to some new people at school, and they were into different kinds of music. And my sister was starting to get into different kinds of music. And, you know, I started playing in bands after I went to Bamboozle Festival. Have you ever heard of Bamboozle Festival?
No, but Alex, I might be the only one in the whole world who hasn't heard of it. So,
It, well, it had a good run in like it was a New Jersey festival, which was really
okay.
cool. It was kind of like a alternative music Coachella. You know, it was like
Yeah.
every name in like underground or alternative music would be there. And I went there. It was 2008. It was at that same year when all that happened. And my sister, she's a couple years older than me. My parents were going to let her go to the festival. And so I was like, can I please, please, please go? And they were like, fine, as long as you stay with your sister, you can go. There's going to be some other people there that'll, watch you guys or whatever. So we're like, all right, cool. So we go to the festival, and my mind was blown. I mean, this was fresh after this whole experience, and I walk in there and I felt like this is where I belong. I mean, it was this incredible utopia to me. Like, it was like all the weirdest people you could possibly
Yeah.
imagine, like just a meeting of the misfits. And
Yep.
I felt like I was home, and literally the next day I was like, I need to start a band like right now. I want to be that person
I
now,
love
you
it.
know? And so, yeah, I started playing in bands with my friends, including my friend Freddie, who was the catalyst to me meeting Kurt. We've been playing together since then. And yeah, so going back to the reason why I guess I stopped playing for now, it's not going to be the last time I perform, but since that time, I mean, I've been performing. So it's been like, what, like 18 years,
Yeah.
right? So like don't feel like an itch to perform anymore. Like I feel like I've like done it. You know
Need
what
a
I
like
mean?
sabbatical.
Yeah, I would like a break from it just for a minute. I have no
Mhm.
like hard feelings against performing at all. And like I said, I will do it again, but I'm interested in other things at the same time too that I want to explore, and it takes up a lot of your mental and physical energy to perform consistently. So it's nice to put my energy elsewhere for a while.
So, so did you immediately like say, okay, I'm going to learn the guitar, and how did you do that? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I had actually started taking guitar lessons when I was like 10, but like I kind of put it down after a minute. So like I had like a vague knowledge of kind
Yeah.
of how to like hold the guitar and make some sounds.
Yeah.
And then that like reignited it, and I was like, this is the music I want to play, because also I was learning like classic rock and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it didn't speak to me really as much. But I was like, this is my music. So
Yeah.
then I like started learning on my own.
I'll tell you our similarity, Alex. Our similarity is that when I was a girl, I played the guitar in our church guitar group.
Wow.
So I performed every Sunday. And the funny thing is that my friend would just teach me what songs were on Sunday. That's how I learned the guitar. She would say, okay, Sunday you need to know. And then I learned those songs. And then I decided at 13 that I was going to like set up a shingle in our house and teach people because it was my only marketable skill.
Wow.
But of course, you see my limits in, knowledge. So I would kind of take a client, and
Hmm.
then I would, after, I don't know, a couple of months, I would say, okay, I've given you all I have. And
You've
this is
graduated.
it. That's right. You've graduated from the Amanda Guitar School. So off they would go. But that's my guitar, background.
That's so cool. I didn't know you were a guitarist.
I mean, to use that term very loosely, if we are playing the Hail Mary, I'm your girl.
That's amazing.
When it gets a little beyond that, I don't.
We fill each other's gaps then, because I don't know any church tunes.
That's right. um, That's really fascinating. I love that story about middle school because I think I didn't go because I did go to Catholic school. I went from first to eighth grade and then high school and middle school. As a mom, I've been, you know, on the observational end of middle school. And then I think, whoa, it is crazy town. It's
Mhm.
kind of like the hardest time in a kid's life, and they smush them all together in a school, and it just seems insane to me, just the whole plot of it. And the other thing you said that was so resonant is that I was just reading this somewhere. Childhood is so short, and we spend the rest of our lives unpacking it. you know
It's so odd, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's not really the longest part of our lives, it's the shortest,
No.
but it is so impactful. And there's so many reasons in for that. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on it because just watching my own kids, you don't have any frame of reference. You didn't, when you asked that girl out, there was no long game. You
Right.
had no perspective on that moment in time and where that was going to sit in your life. And,
Right.
it's just, I don't know, it's so powerful. And sometimes I think we really float by the trauma that we experience as little people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's I feel like it's easier in some ways to ignore it or to just like try to ignore it until it rears its ugly head, right? It always does, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, in the name of progress, right? You can easily just like push everything away and say, no, whatever, I'm going to keep pushing forward. And that works too, so.
For time. Yeah. So we were talking before about your last name.
Hmm.
I'm going to try to say it, Alex.
Please. Yeah.
Don't you say it. I'm going to try to say it.
Okay.
Is it Pirakive?
Yeah, you nailed it. Pirakive. Yeah.
Okay. What is it? Do you know, by the way, what it means? Does it mean anything?
I have no idea.
So it's Colombian.
It's Colombian. Yeah.
Your
My dad's
father's
from Colombia.
Colombian.
Yes, my dad's from Colombia.
Your mom is not Colombian.
No, my mom is Greek, actually. She's from Greece.
Oh, wait. So your dad is actually from Colombia
Yes.
and your mom is from Greece.
Yes. Yes.
That is really cool. How did that play a role in shaping you when you were younger?
Yeah, it was really
Like
interesting.
today?
So, yeah, yeah, it definitely. I mean, it's who I am. I mean, so I would be considered a first generation American. My sister and I are the first people in my family to have been born in America. And it's interesting because yeah, my parents both had two totally different cultural backgrounds. So
Wow.
it's interesting because like, it sets a stage for um I don't know, like throughout my life, communication has been like a major topic because my parents both were communicating through their whole relationship with English being both of their second language. So it's an interesting dynamic where, there's almost so much that can't be said, when you're working in that kind of a framework. But it was interesting because I felt like, at home I would experience one thing that was completely different and unique and in its own way experimental, clashing of cultures. And then I would come to school and it was like a completely different thing trying to assimilate into school. Like obviously as a person, just as a human at all, you get this urge to like assimilate and be welcomed and make friends and whatever. You notice that there's like I don't know, there's value in like social hierarchies and stuff, and you want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it definitely always felt like wearing a couple different hats or different skins or whatever to try to get by.
Yeah.
My sister got bullied pretty badly. I didn't get bullied too terribly, but it was, it's hard because she really, really, really wanted to fit in. And I think that I was able to see that and kind of that's also why I kind of went my own way and found my own people. I tried to go more for the weirdos because I felt like a weirdo. So it was like that worked for me.
Yeah.
Because it was difficult. I just didn't get it. Like culturally, like my life was very different at home. So it was a lot of, I would say when I was younger, I was very, very quiet. I was very shy. And I did a lot of listening because I think I kind of knew on the inside that that was the way to figure out what was the right and what wrong way to move
Yeah.
for me, throughout my path. So just
Very
just wa
watchful.
well, yeah, watching and listening to others and kind of like mimicking whatever I thought worked or something, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because there are two different cultures too, two different countries. It's not like they both came from Colombia or they both came from Greece.
Right.
And then, so what language was spoken in your house? English?
Well, it was interesting because we had three languages in the house because English was the common language between my parents, and then my dad would speak Spanish to my sister and I, and my mom would speak Greek or English to my sister and I. But my dad still exclusively speaks Spanish to us, which is interesting. He can speak English, but he just chooses not to. I don't know why. Like
When,
to other people he speaks English, but to us he speaks Spanish.
well, yeah, interesting. My husband's father is from Puerto Rico, as was his mother, and he only spoke Spanish to the kids and he spoke English to everybody else. And so you speak Spanish. Do you speak
Mhm.
Greek?
Yeah, I speak enough Greek, I think, to get by. I mean, I actually we went on our honeymoon in July, and we went to Greece for about a week, and it like I tried to kind of remember like my Greek from when I was a kid, and because I just don't practice it as much as Spanish, you know.
Right.
Spanish you kind of need nowadays,
You do.
but Greek you never use it, so it all really came back to me. I was kind of impressed with myself. So that was cool. Yeah, so I guess I speak
That's
Greek.
cool. That is really cool. Greece is on my list. It's on my bucket list.
You'll
Um,
love it. You'll love it.
oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. And like food, what about food? What kind of food were you eating in your house? I'm always
Um,
curious about that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm a huge foodie, so yeah, I mean, I have a Greek mother, so I mean, it was Greek food most of the time. And yeah, big health nut, so we were always kind of on that health food kick. I mean, she was listening. She's an OG, honestly, like when it comes to the health stuff. Like we thought she was crazy as our mom when
Yeah,
we were kids, you know. But like everything that she was on about, you know, when we were kids is just normal now. The things that people say.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't know if you know who Gary Knoll is, but he was like a radio guy back in the day. I think he was like some kind of like what was considered to be like extreme kind of like dude about food
Oh,
and
interesting.
and health. And she used to listen to him, I remember, and it was almost like early podcasts. You know, he had a radio show, so
Yeah,
uh,
the precursor of podcasts.
exactly. So yeah, mostly Greek food and yeah.
Yeah. No, my mom was like that about health, and I have to say, she's 91 and she's great. So, there's something to it, you know.
It works.
Um, so do you incorporate any Greek or Colombian food like in your life today?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think most importantly, the culture of just cooking food like is so ingrained in me. Like we don't really like we'll eat out, my wife and I, like, but we're consciously choosing to like, okay, we're gonna eat out that night. 90% of the time we're making food at home.
That's great.
Um, and I love it. It's just a part of my life, which is really nice. I feel really fortunate to have that and have a mother who was like cooking, and doing all that. But you know, not specifically like Greek food and Colombian food, I would say. Kind of just like basic meals, like, you know, we'll make chicken or beef or whatever with rice and beans and sometimes like tacos or whatever. Greek food's kind of hard to make at home because like it's a lot of it takes a long time. It's like a lot of like grandma recipes, you know?
Yes, I
Um,
do.
so so like I'd say Hispanic food is a little bit easier to make kind
Yeah.
of more quickly if you want to whip up a dinner within an hour. So
Yeah, that's it. I always find it interesting because the ways that culture shows up in my home is through food. And when people ask me, like, do my kids speak Spanish? I always say, if you're talking food,
I mean that's very important.
I find it interesting the way our heritage informs us. And I think the reason that I find it interesting is because I find identity interesting. And identity is really complicated.
Hmm.
And, because it's like, who do people see you as? Who do you see yourself as? And all of those kind of factors that shape you. Because I'm imagining in school, did they even know that you had a background that was Colombian and Greek?
I don't know, honestly.
Probably
I have no
didn't.
idea. Yeah. I
You
mean, you
know?
know, and kids are just like, "Oh, you're different. I pick on you." You know, it's very simple, you know.
Yes, they don't know why. They just know that's really
Yeah. But I had funny that you say that the perception that people have because I have a line in a song that I wrote. It's I am who I think I am. And you know, and that was written from a place of like a breakup or something that I had. And yeah, I'm totally into that. It's interesting. You know, people we all have different perception and different lenses.
yeah. And I've always wondered about it. I look at my own kids because you kind of can't tell what they are, and then they wonder, you know, I am Puerto Rican, right? But their cousins who are Puerto Rican don't look quite exactly like them. And I just find, especially as you're, growing up, but probably through your whole life, identity and what people see, and then what you
Mhm.
see looking out of your eyes
Yeah.
is just intriguing.
Yeah, I feel for your kids because it's weird being in between where like you know you don't really know who like I'm not Hispanic enough to be like hanging with the Hispanic kids and I'm
Right.
not Greek enough to be like hanging with the Greek kids and I'm not American enough to hang with the American kids. So it's like I found strength in just kind of going my own way and like
Yes.
whoever would accept me, I kind of gravitated towards. But you know that took a lot of trial and error and heartache and you know weirdness of trying to fit in or like maybe dress a certain way or do my hair a certain way or whatever it may be, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, at this point I've had a little bit of life lived. I'm 30, but so I feel like a little bit more comfortable in my skin. I've put myself out there and embarrassed myself millions of times over enough. I mean, that's what live performance is, right? You just embarrass yourself again and again and again until you don't get embarrassed anymore, you know?
I love that. I talk about that a lot. I always say embarrassment is a muscle. And just
Hmm.
like when you lift weights, get embarrassed a lot. It's the best thing in the world because then you find out it doesn't kill you. We start to think I don't, I think it's kind of what you were talking about. You want to fit in with a group because it's very primal. It's how our ancestors survived. They found safety in a group. So it is primal to want to fit in
Hmm.
and to get embarrassed. That kind of goes against the whole fitting in module. So if you want to do something bold, you have to be willing to be embarrassed and you kind of have to do it. And I was just reading something and it talks about the difference between a happy life and a psychologically rich life.
Hmm.
And my desire, I guess, according to what this article purports, is to live a psychologically rich life. I mean, I'm happy and I like happiness as much as the next person, but it's not satisfying enough for me to go to work and come home and eat dinner and watch Netflix and wake up and do it again, even if
Hmm.
I'm content doing that.
Hmm. So what is a psychologically rich life?
So a psychologically rich life is a little bit more risk taking. And when I say risk taking, I don't mean like jumping out of planes. I mean what you're talking about. Like this is a creative act. I feel compelled to do it. And I don't have to go out on a stage. And I don't have to. I mean, you were practicing it when you asked that girl on a date. I don't have to. I can stay in the corner and not talk to anybody. It's kind of figuring out who you are, what you want, evolving, pivoting, taking chances, and finding meaning
Hmm.
in your life.
I see. That's
If
cool.
I'm wrong, then somebody can tell us because I only read this one article, but that's what I took from it, Alex.
Drop it in the comments, throw the
That's
definition over
right.
it.
Feel free to disagree. Um, so I've started being curious. I've always been curious, but I think I'm starting to get bold enough to ask people
Hmm.
just what is the role, if any, and
Hmm.
there doesn't have to be a role, of like spirituality in your life? Is there a role and like what does it look like and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, for me it's huge. I feel like I've kind of been in touch with my spirituality since I don't know when, for as long as I can remember. I mean, even like little things, like just getting little whispers from a greater power, you know. I at this point in my life, I feel like there's been so many times where I've um well, just to go back, I mean, my nickname is Monk Punk. So it's kind of baked into my persona, so to speak, in the
Love it.
entertainment world. Um, and that's kind of like what I do for, you know, that name is thrown around for my producing and it's my Instagram handle and stuff like that. Because I find myself to be kind of a combination of like a spiritual um I don't know, practitioner or like resonator in general and also like I've come up in punk rock and stuff like that. So it's like kind of a
That's
cool,
cool.
yeah, it's kind of a cool balance that I've found in my own life because to me they're actually the same thing. But they're yin yang, like they're complete opposites, but like at a certain point when opposites go far enough, they come back around, like they become the same thing. Like they end up bleeding each into each other. Like you see people politically go so far left that they become right, you know, like it's the same thing I think with I don't know, any kind of didactic kind of structure, I suppose. Yeah, so spirituality is huge to me. I've experimented with a lot of different kinds of practices and stuff like that. I ebb and flow. Sometimes I'm not as spiritually practicing, sometimes I am. I'll go through periods of life, but you know, I've done a lot of meditation, I've done a lot of yoga. Music is a very spiritual practice for me. Performing was very spiritual for me. The food you eat can be very spiritual. Connecting with other people. I mean, religion can be spiritual. It's there's a lot of different ways, and I'm really into like ancient texts and like stuff like that too, like a lot of historical ways that people utilize their spiritual energy. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, we all have like the same kind of basic ingredients, I think, and like basic, maybe it's like Maslow's hierarchy or whatever, like desires. And I think that we just express them in different ways, you know, like every religion is just a different way of answering the same questions, you
I
know.
like that. Yeah.
And that goes for yoga and meditation and music and art and writing and learning, and anything that you pursue can be spiritual. So yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That is such an interesting perspective. And I don't think I realized that monk punk. I love that. I think that is so cool. So back to music real quickly. So you write songs or wrote songs,
Mhm.
and do you sing and play the guitar?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I'm just
Yeah, in my so I had a band. Well, I mean, we're on a hiatus technically. My
yeah.
band, we're called America Part Two. And I was singing and playing guitar in that band. Yeah.
Okay. So can you share, just speaking of your band and performing, anything unexpected or interesting that either happened or that you learned while you were performing?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, so many things. I mean, like I said, I started playing shows at a very young age. So that first, like, and those are with different bands. This band started in 2017, but you know, from being a kid starting to play in bands, like I said, it's like embarrassing yourself a million times until you don't get embarrassed anymore. I mean, we were bad. Like, we weren't good at playing music. We were bad. And like, and we knew it at a certain point too. We're like, but we loved doing it. And like our friends at the time were having fun with us. So like it was kind of a cool thing to like form a music scene. So I'd say the number one thing that I learned by performing is that you can build a community by bringing people out to a public space
Wow.
and like, you know, giving people something to do, you know, especially in like New Jersey suburbs in the winter, like, you know, what is there to do? Oh, there's a local show and a couple bands, teenage bands are playing, you know, we'll go hang out. You know, it's not, and it's typically because it's teenage bands too, it'll be like at a rec center or a VFW or like, you know, really like DIY do it yourself kind of stuff. So there's usually not really booze or drugs or anything. It's actually a pretty good alternative, I would say, um, to a lot of other activities. But yeah, so number one, I'd say building community through performing is huge. I mean, that's all shows are, right? They're like big community events. And then the embarrassment thing for sure. I mean, as we got older, we started playing bigger and bigger shows, and then people would get like crazier and crazier who would come to the shows, which is really cool and fun. There were like, I don't know. I mean, it's nice being able to like, the stage is weird. The stage is a weird thing because like people kind of look at you in a certain light when you're on stage and they're not.
Yeah.
It instantly creates this kind of subconscious separation, even if there's like 10 people at the show, you're the
Yeah.
one performing and they're not. So there's like a weird dynamic there. That's just an observation, but
Yeah. That is interesting. You're right.
yeah, it's pretty unique. And that being said, there's a lot of power in it, and that's I guess that's number three. There's a ton of power in live performance, or speaking or whatever you're doing. Just when you're on the stage and you have the microphone and other people don't, you have a responsibility, whether it's to entertain or to enlighten or to speak the truth. Don't fuck it up. Like it's serious business, you know, and it's really easy to just like mess around with your buddies as a band and whatever, like look at it pretty low key or be like, yeah, I don't really know what to say up here, but
Right.
congratulations, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy to get smacked in the face with the reality of the gravitas of the situation when you are the one who's given the microphone and you're
Yeah.
not prepared.
100%. They're putting kind of their faith in you in a sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it until you just said that.
Yeah, it's unique because as an audience member, like, and I'm a huge fan of music and shows and comedy shows and whatever, you're looking at that person saying you chose to be up there, like,
Right.
so what are you doing? Like, if you're flopping right now, which happens to everyone, and that's a big learning experience in itself, but like, as an audience member, you're sitting there like, why did you choose to do this if you're not trying? Like you're
Right.
wasting your time and my time, and it like pisses people off, rightfully so.
Right. So if you could collaborate musically with anyone, living or dead, who would you collaborate with?
It's a great question. Living or dead,
Hmm.
my greatest collaboration, I think, would be with Rick Rubin.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Do you
Yeah.
know Rick Rubin?
Not personally.
I was like, oh, are you gonna connect us? Okay, cool.
No, but because I do have a certification in meditation instruction, I'm always fascinated by Rick Rubin because he's a big meditator. Um, and my husband, he loves music and he's just a music appreciator. So he's always looking at who produces
Hmm.
whatever he likes. He likes to know who's producing it. So that's my only, I just know Rick Rubin produced the Beastie Boys and
Yeah.
meditates. That's my knowledge of Rick Rubin.
Well, honestly, that kind of sums it up, and that's exactly why I feel like I would resonate with him because he's like a perfect example of mug punk, like he's like that
Yes.
guy, and like I love his work. He's an incredible producer, and now that I'm producing artists, I like am learning a lot by looking into his work. And I'm a huge fan of so many bands that he worked with and rappers and pop stuff and everything
Yeah.
country. I mean, he even did Johnny Cash's last record before he died. I mean, so many impactful things, and just the way that he looks at music and art in general. He just put out a book not long ago, and it's basically just about living artfully, which I agree. I saw someone out last night. Shout out my friend Blaze, who's a great pop artist in Asbury Park. And Blaze was like, we were talking about their art and my art. They just put out a single, and it's really good. And they said something like, you just I want America Part Two to come back because you guys just get like that, like it's you live the art. And
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, and that's what Rick Rubin talks about. And yeah, so Rick
Yeah.
Rubin for sure. He's the best.
That's really a cool answer. And as somebody who isn't a musician, my church history notwithstanding, I find him inspirational in the sense of life as art, even for non-musicians and
Right.
the creative pursuits. So yeah, that's really cool. Okay, rapid fire, just a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Beach or mountains?
Oh, beach.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. These are all like for today. I like
Yes. Oh,
like
and well, you work on a podcast, so the thing that's so fascinating about doing a podcast, I think, is people start to deliberate on their answers sometimes so much. And I always think we are changing like an hour after you do the podcast. Every answer you gave could be different.
That's right. That's right.
It's like a Polaroid, it's a Polaroid, it's a snapshot. It's so interesting that you point that out. Okay, what is a song that is currently, or a musician that's currently on your playlist right now?
I just listened to McGee for the first time yesterday. It's kind of like a hype, dropped a hype record. It's mk.gee. They dropped like a pretty hype record. I think it's pretty okay. I don't know. It didn't really blow me away. I thought it was cool. like sonically, it was really cool, like production wise. I think it was done on like a Tascam, like an old, four tracker or eight track or something. And it sounds really cool. But aside from that, the songs are pretty okay.
Do you have lists? Like I actually have on my playlist, like this is my I'm feeling down list. I have a soulful living playlist. So do you have like if you're not feeling motivated or if you're feeling down, is there a certain type of music or list that you go to?
My playlists actually tend to be in the box of time. So like I'll have yearly playlists, which I think are cool because they're like little time capsules of like what I listened to that year.
Yes.
I started that back in like 2017. So I have like 2017, 2018, 2019,
Oh,
2020.
that's cool.
And it's interesting because then I can go back in time to that year and like be like, oh yeah, I was going through that thing or feeling that way or this record really infected me. So yeah, I have a 2025 playlist, which is cool because I get to use the hand emoji that like looks like a five. Um,
Nice.
but so not moods. If as far as something that pumps me up though, like honestly, a lot of hardcore. If I just need to like get in the mood and like wake up a little bit and do whatever. Yeah, hardcore music for sure. Endit is putting out a new record very shortly, so that I've been jamming their singles. Turnstile's new record obviously has taken over the world of alternative rock. Um, yeah, and Freddie Rainville is like so plugged into hardcore. He just sends me all kinds of stuff that I've never heard of and gets me into it. So grateful for him.
So when you kind of look at your young life, you're young and but you're 3 decades that you've been in the world. Is there any kind of thread that you see? Is there anything where you go, yeah, that's kind of like the thread, or that's my theme?
That's a really, really interesting question. I feel like as you get older, you could probably recognize it a little bit more. Um, because as far as like major life cycles, I've only been through a couple. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm at the beginning of a new one right now.
Yep.
Um, which is cool because I'm actually aware of it for the first time, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, um, I think one theme has been, and I've noticed this in major points of transition, is that I actually have to be the one to make the decision to go or not go into the new cycle. Um, for example, like I was, I had to be the one to say, "Hey, we should put the band down for a while,"
Hmm.
and that
That's
was
a hard
really,
decision, I would think.
it was very hard. It was very difficult. And lucky for me, Freddie was like, "Cool, I agree," and that like worked out, and it was a huge weight off my back. But I think that's one major thing that I've noticed has kind of been a pattern is that in times of like major transition where I feel like in my bones like something's wrong, um, I have to be the one to stake my claim or make the big decision for myself. Otherwise, I don't know, things just start to collapse, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's one thing.
that's
To like
interesting.
taking responsibility. Like I guess maybe life would smack me in the face with a tragedy that changes that if I didn't take the leap. But I guess in a way I want to take the leap before that happens because I want to learn from lessons of humanity from every single person before me. It's like, learn from your mistakes, learn from everyone else's mistakes too, like don't wait until the tragedy comes, like try to be proactive.
Yeah, that's really impressive and unusual because most of us, myself included, we need like a big kick in the back to,
Hmm.
and I can even sometimes go, yeah, I should be moving. This isn't going to end well, and I'll just wait for it not to end well. So I
Yeah.
think that, but I thought about that even when you said you went to, um, like, what was it? Palooza Festival? I forget what you said.
That was good. Bamboozle Festival,
Yeah,
yeah.
Palooza Festival. And you came back and you said, yeah, I'm going to do that. So a lot of
Mhm.
kids would go to that and they would say, I'm going to do that. I would have done that. I am going to do that like in a year.
Yeah.
or in fact, and but they don't do it. So when you were telling that story, I found myself marveling at the fact that so young you actually did it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big put up or shut up kind of guy. It's funny enough, one of the bands that I was like my favorite band at that time at Bamboozle Festival, they had an EP at the time called Put Up or Shut Up, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy now that I think back to that. It was just in my psyche,
yeah.
it's like do it or don't, like, don't talk about it, and I've always felt that way. I mean, and now getting older and having read philosophy and stuff like that, like, it resonates with me, the whole, like, you are your actions, not your thoughts or whatever, like it's not about what you think, it's about what you do. And like even what you say, it's like the hierarchy is like what you do and then what you say and then what you think, right? That was like in that order, that's what your life becomes, so I totally believe that.
Can I just ask where you think that came from? I mean, is that just innate? Did you see your one of your parents or both of your parents behaving in that manner, like that put up or shut up kind of mentality?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of a chip on my shoulder came from my parents just being immigrants and like actually succeeding. Like they like achieved the American dream, and like it only came from brute hard work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that really imprinted that on me, especially from my dad. His work is unbelievable. And that definitely like, and he has no chill. Like, and he would always tell me like pretty much that, things like if you're gonna do something, like do it all the way, or else somebody else is gonna do it better than you, and then you're screwed. So yeah.
That's really funny.
In different words, I'm sure, and it a lot of pressure in different words and in Spanish, but yes.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Alex, you are really interesting, and I am excited to see where core energy experience takes you and just where your life takes you, because you're kind of at the precipice of so many opportunities, and that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It feels exciting.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I can't believe it's over. I miss you already, Amanda. You're the best. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the Soulful community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the Soulful Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together, and you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.